Everyone, welcome along to today's webinar for Sage 50 accounts. Today we're looking at another customer related session, which is looking at filters. So managing your customers list, removing and hiding certain accounts just to make it that bit more manageable. Now this links in very nicely with the inactive session, which we're also going to be running very soon. But today we're just looking at the basics of filters. Right, okay. Let's get stuck in then. So this is what we're going to be covering in today's session. So a little bit of background. Now, got a bit of a hands-on task today. So going out on a limb here to get you to have a go while we're on the session itself, because there's not a fantastic amount to cover in today's session. It's encouraging you to have a go of it, seeing what you can do with it. Now, all you're doing is you're just filtering your list. So when you filter your list, you can always switch that filter back off. So all you're doing is hiding information and then switching it off, it'll reappear. You're not removing anything or affecting your records in any other way. So just literally filtering them from the list. So I'll get you to have a go. We're going to be looking at building filters. So quick demonstration. I've got a hands-on task for you as well, so you can have a go if you've got your software to hand. And then there's also wildcards, which is I suppose what I would term the advanced part of filters. Just gives you that added sort of flexibility. So again, we'll run through a quick demonstration, get you to have a go over that as well, see how you get on. Maybe it might just give you some food for thought. And then right at the end, we'll explain more about the additional support. And if there's any outstanding questions or queries that you have, maybe you've got a specific filter that you're trying to build. If you want to try and test my knowledge, test my skills, you can do that. Pop it in there. I'll try my best. See if we can run some live demos at the end as well. So we'll have a challenge Michael section, shall we say. See what we can come up with. Right, let's get stuck in with the webinar itself then. So first of all, why are you going to use filters? Well, the idea is, as it suggests there at the top, it streamlines the records that appear in your ledgers. So there might be certain records you want to display or maybe don't want to display. It depends which way you want to think about that. Filters, once you've learned it, it's available in most ledgers within your software. So customers, suppliers, products, invoicing. So most ledgers you'll have that available. Even your transactions list, you can filter that as well. And the idea is, as I say, you can identify specific records that you want to be displayed. So your day-to-day records that you work with, or maybe you approach it where you think, well, actually, what I'm trying to do is I just want to hide certain records. So you're trying to identify what you do or don't want to see and sort of filter that list. So you've got a bit more manageable list. Now, common filters, and we're going to have a look at this one today. It's really easy to build them, hiding things like zero balance accounts, displaying recent records only. So when I say recent, you'll be able to enter a date on that one. You can choose. So when was the last time someone bought something from you? If it's prior to, a certain date, you might think, well, actually, they're probably not going to come back to us. Or do you approach it in another way and say, right, display the customers that haven't purchased anything from me in the last whatever period you want? And you might be sort of think, well, actually, let's contact them, see if we can get some business from them, bring them back on board. Now, it does add that flexibility. So things like sending information to Excel by filter. You'll probably be aware if you try sending information to Excel, if you highlight records, that doesn't transfer across to the send Excel function. So when you click send to Excel, when you're working in the likes of the customer list, it'll just send everything that's listed. So it ignores the highlight. Whereas when you're working with reports, if you do highlight something and then try to run a report, it'll only include the accounts that you've got selected. Now, there may be occasions where you try to run a report and you think, actually, I only want it to include certain customers. And rather than you go through selecting the records that you want, you might apply a filter first of all, so that you're only left with the records that you want to include on the report. Make it a bit more accurate, a bit quicker using a filter rather than going through click, 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 trying to highlight everything that you want. So you've got wildcards as well. Obviously, we'll be having a quick look at that. And obviously, we've got inactive records. So those old records that you no longer need to be displayed, maybe customers that have gone bust, don't exist anymore, that you refuse to trade with anymore, you can flag them as being inactive. And we've got a separate webinar on that one. It's really easy to filter out those inactive records as well. I've included the link there on the bottom of the slide. If you download the full color PDF, that one will work for you. If you're print friendly, it doesn't. The links don't work. But there is a link to the help article, which would guide you through that process. So let's get stuck into a demonstration. I'll guide you through the basics of adding filters first of all. Right, let's share my screen and we'll get stuck in. Now we'll come on to the hands-on task in just a couple of minutes, but I'll show you the basics of working with filters first of all. So most of your ledgers that you've got, so customers, etc., you're going to have this filter option at the top. Don't get that confused with the quick search option. Quick search is just used if you want to type something basic in there and say, right, which records satisfy that. So you might be on the phone and you might be speaking to someone called Paul, for instance, and you think, right, what's their record? And it might just be a way of easily identifying them. But you've got filters. Filters will apply to your whole list, and with filters, you're going to search based on specific fields. So when we click filters, it brings up this window, and it's the same window no matter where you access that from. So this is our customer filter window. You see it's blank at the moment. You've got 4 columns. So first one is join. So we're just going to say where. And I'm going to go for the most obvious one. I'm going to base it on balance. I'll get another go of this in a moment. So we come onto the field. What do you want to filter based around? Now we're going to choose balance. Now, if you click on the drop down when you access that filters window, it'll give you a great big list of things that you can filter on. So is the 1 month balance. So these are the sort of the age balance fields. Then you've gone to information within the account itself. You've got defaults. There's loads of options in there. You can just start scrolling down and find whatever it is you want to apply the filter based on. Now, if you know what it's called, obviously you just scroll to it. But the other thing you can do, if you know what it's called, so I know it's called balance, begins with B. I can just type B, and it jumps down that list. Begin with L. Just type L. And if there's any others, so let's see if I do R as an example. So if I type R, it jumps down to region. And then if I continue pressing that, it would start scrolling through the ones beginning with R. But what we're going to do is we're just going to choose balance. It's a nice, easy one. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to say is greater than, and we'll enter that as 0. So what we're after is we just want to hide accounts with a 0 balance. Now be careful with some of these, and I'll tell you some of the sort of the I wouldn't say pitfalls, but the kind of things that catch people out. We'll cover that in a moment. So we're just saying where balance is greater than 0. So everyone that has a balance, that's what we want to be displayed. Then click apply. Obviously, I could type a value in if I want to. So if I'm looking for balances above a certain amount, I could type a value in there. And again, it'll filter the list. So we've got a basic filter in there. Click apply. I then click close. And you'll see that we're now left with the accounts that have a balance greater than 0. Now it tells me at the top here, this is sort of how you can tell if you've got some sort of filter applied. So it's telling me 25 out of the 31 records that I've got, 25 are listed. Now, if you don't have a filter applied, you would expect that to say, rather than say X number of records, it'll say all records. Now, you've got an option to switch your filter on and off. So I could just leave that up in the background. I've got this little sort of filter icon, which switches the filter that's set up in your background on and off. So I just switch it off. It now changes to all records. It'll tell me how many I've got in total. so 31, but it means that all records are now displayed. So at any time I can switch it on and off very easily. If I want that switch back on, just again click on it, switches it back on for me. The other way I can remove a filter is just to go into filter and then click clear form. It resets it. If I then just click apply, click close, and it tells me, again, all records, it tells me that at the top. So, and also in brackets, how many I've got in total. Now, some filters can be a lot more complex than what I've covered so far. You can add multiple lines. So we could do where balance is such and such, or above a certain amount, and, or. We'll come on to that one in a moment. So what I wanted you to do, we'll start with a hands-on task. And it's the condition, which is something to watch out for. So you can have different options. So I'll quickly bring up the sort of the hands-on task, as it were. I'm just going to share that screen for you. Find the right button. And there's two options. So if you've got your Sage software available to you, have a go of this. So within customers, just click your filter option at the top and try setting up that one in the background, the upper left one, where balance is greater than 0, and see what results you get. So it should be like mine, where you've just got essentially the positive balances. So where balance is greater than 0, click apply at the bottom, close out of that screen, and just see what you're left with. Remember, have a go of switching on and off as well, sort of toggling it on and off. So I'm sure some of you will have loads of either zero balance accounts, and you think, well, I've never traded with them for a long time. So you can filter them. They're just getting in the way. They're cluttering up your list on a day-to-day basis. Also try the second one as well. So once you've had a go of that one, that first one where balance is greater than 0, have a go where balance is not equal to 0. Now, very similar, those filters, but there's a difference. When you do where balance is not equal to 0, it means that any record with a balance at all, positive or negative, so let's say they've got a credit balance, they will still be listed. So it really depends what you're after. It's quite common to overlook that one as well. And you think, well, I'll just use that first one where balance is greater than 0. But that means if there's any records with a credit balance, with a negative balance on your list, it would mean that would be hidden by default. So again, it's something to think about. It depends exactly what you're after. Again, toggle them on and off and make sure you get familiar with that. Now I've got a second one, which is going in a bit more detail. So we'll move on from that first one. Remember, they are available on the slides if you do want to download that PDF copy of them. Task 2 comes on to entering a second line. So we're still saying where balance is greater than 0. So we're looking for the positive balances. But we're also looking, so we're entering a second line. So to enter that second line, we just tab down to that second line. And what we're going to do is we're going to say where last invoice date is greater than or equal to, in this case, the 1st of the 1st, 2026. So what that should result in, if you do that, is we're looking for any account that has a balance, or any account that is where we've invoiced them since the beginning of the year. They might have a 0 balance now. So if we just apply that first one, because they've got a 0 balance, they will be hidden. But because we add that second line, it means that they could have a 0 balance. Just so happens maybe one of your regular customers, they've got a 0 balance now. They're paid up to date, but they are a regular customer. Do you want them hidden from that list or not? Now be careful with the join on that second line as well. Have a go of that. You get two options on that when you go down to a second, third, or even more lines. It'll say or or and. And there can be a big difference, big results, big differences in the results if you do get that join wrong. If you were to change that to and, what you'd be looking for is accounts that currently have a positive balance, but also where that invoice is, or the last invoice is, in this case, within 2026. So that means if they had a zero balance, they would be hidden, even though they have made a purchase in the current year. So you need to be a little bit careful with the joins sometimes. So again, have a go of that one. And you can obviously start building up quite complex filters. Saves you amending the design of your reports sometimes as well. I'll show you this one in a moment in the demo. In fact, I'll do that now. I'll quickly share my screen with you. Hopefully you had a chance to have a go. Remember, as I say, those hands-on tasks, those examples, they are available on the slides if you have downloaded those. So I'll just quickly show you that second one. So we had where, and if I just type B, look at balance, and I'm going to say is greater than 0. So I'm wanting to hide zero balances essentially and negatives. That's the first line of that criteria. That's what would happen just if I apply that. So if I click apply, there's no zero balances on here. If I click filter, I'm going to come down to that second line, and this is where you need to be a little bit careful. So I'll do O, and then I'm just going to type L, jumps down. So last invoice date, and I'm going to say is greater than or equal to. And again, this condition, you'll see that some of these change as well, depending what you're searching on, what field you've chosen. If I just put the 1st of the 1st, 2026, click apply. I've got those two lines now, click close. You can see this one here. I've got a zero balance, but it's displayed. If I go into that one, have a look at the sales tab, you can see that the last invoice date in this instance is the 1st of July, 2026. So this is the field it's actually looking at, and it's using that as part of that filter. Now, as I mentioned, if we say we want to send information to Excel, we want these three only, we'll highlight those and click send to Excel. It'll just whir away while it transfers that information across. But you can see even out of that, it says, I'll just drag that across onto my other screen so you can see it. It transfers the whole lot. Everything that's listed, that's what gets displayed and transferred across to Excel. Whereas if I just close out of that and I go to run a report, and we'll just choose something like a basic customer list report. Let's just preview it. Just accept all of that default criteria. And what we should find on this one is that it's only pulling through the records that we had selected. So it'll only consider, when you go to run a report, it'll only consider what you've got highlighted on the list. It'll then apply its own reporting filters, etc., on top. So it's got some good uses, the filters list. It's often overlooked, and a lot of people will contact our support team and say, right, I need a report similar to this one, but I only want it to include certain records, whether that's customers or invoices or products and services, you name it. And quite often the easy solution is, right, have you thought about just applying a filter before you go to run that report? And it resolves so many queries, that one. Right, now I'm going to quickly cover wildcards. Now there's three wildcards when it comes to applying filters using that filters option. There's the question mark, which represents a single character, not widely used, that one. The asterisk, which represents any number of valid characters. So we're going to use that one in the example. That's probably the most common one. And there's also the dollar, which represents a specific line of text somewhere within the data. So the question mark, if I was searching, let's say, customer account references, and I got an example there. If I typed in WE and then a question mark, just ignore that 001 in the example, it would only find anything that begins WE and then a single character after that. So any character after the WE. And obviously you can position that question mark somewhere within whatever you're searching for as well. Whereas if I use the asterisk, it would look for any number of valid characters. So if we go back to that first example where it began WE, and then we typed in an asterisk, and that's what we're searching for, it would look for all account references that begin WE, and then any number of characters after that. And it would find the relevant ones. So asterisk is probably the most commonly used wildcard. It's the one, generally the one that makes sense. Useful in a number of different scenarios. And I've got a one which I will quickly demonstrate, again, hands-on task. So this is a good example of where you might use a wildcard. So we're looking for maybe customers that are based in a certain region. Now, quite commonly used this in sort of products and services as well. But we could do a search or a filter and say where registered address line, so the address line 5 is going to be the postcode. So as long as you've got that consistently in there, and we're going to say where the registered address line 5 is equal to NE, then an asterisk. Now, obviously you might substitute some other characters in there when you have a go of that. And what it means is that for that one, I'm looking for any customer where the registered postcode begins NE. You might do it based on phone numbers or whatever else you want to search on. Could be more specific. Let's say that it's, NE12, then an asterisk, and I would narrow that down even further to like a local town, for instance. But you might do this. You might be trying to identify customers where you've got a salesman that's going around visiting these customers. You might be just trying to generate a call out list. We're going to try and ring round. So you might base it on phone number. Let's say I wanted all phone numbers that begin 0191. So I'm ringing around Newcastle, for instance. I would do where telephone is equal to 0191 asterisk. So again, have a go of that one. That asterisk is by far the most useful one. I think the dollar and the dollar and the question mark, couldn't think which other one it was there. They have their uses, but probably few and far between. The asterisk is by far the most useful one. So again, have a go of that one if you can. Again, common ones for that one. Postcodes and things like telephone numbers. There are certain things you can't filter on as well. So as far as customers are concerned, you couldn't sort of filter based around their transaction activity, for instance. So you couldn't look for specific invoices within their record, for instance, not from within the customers. You could potentially do reports that would look for that type of information, but not the filters. The filters are largely based around the records that are listed. So if you think of your customers, what information is held within the record itself? Those standard sort of fields. Similar for products. You couldn't filter based on like the likes of the activity, but you could base it around product record information. So products, for instance, it might be, right, give me a list of products that we haven't sold for a long time. So your slow moving ones or ones that just don't move at all. Maybe you're looking to, clear them out and shift that, scrap them, sell them off cheap. So again, hopefully you've had a chance to do that one. I'll just quickly share my screen and show you that one in action. You run a couple of quick examples there. So I'll go back to filter at the top. And we'll just clear that. We'll do where. And again, if I just keep pressing R, it'll cycle through all of the fields that begin with R. So I'm looking for registered address line 5. Obviously, the thing to watch out for is sometimes they might be called something you weren't expecting. So you might just expect that to say address line 5. So we'll have a good look up and down that list. And then we're going to do is equal to, and again, I'll just do any, and we'll do an asterisk in the background there. So we're looking for any customer on my list whose postcode begins NE. So we'll click apply, click close, and again, that's it done. So again, thinking about what we've done so far, it might be, we'll pick up on customers in a certain area that haven't bought anything from us in a certain period. So again, you could do that sort of where and where the last invoice is prior to a certain date. So there's a number of options for you on there. I did it based on phone number as well. Just might as well quickly show you that one. So I'll just change it to where telephone number is equal to. Now, if I forget to change something, if I click apply, obviously there's nothing in the background meets that criteria, and it just says naught of 31 records. So it doesn't display anything. If I switch it back off, back to all records, back into filter, and I'll just do 0191. Now, if I just left it at that, click apply, again, it doesn't find anything. There isn't a telephone number that just is exactly 0191. So this is where your wildcard comes in. So 0191 asterisk, click apply, and then maybe we've got our call out list at that point. Maybe we ringing around trying to set up some appointments, that type of thing. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of food for thought. Obviously, some filters, just to give you a little bit more information, can be quite complex. Once you've got it set up, you can always come in and you can amend it. Right, we're looking at a different area now. So if I just switch mine off, let's see what else I've got. I've got some, what have I got? 01, I've got a couple that begin 017, so I'll just go back in, change it, asterisk, click apply, and again, I've narrowed down that list. So have a bit think about when it comes to reporting. Are you ever in that instance where you're thinking, right, I want that account, that account, that account, that account, and you're going through highlighting records that you want? Could you apply a filter? Common one might be sending statements. Some you might print, some you might email. Hopefully everyone's across to emailing now, but you might still print some out. So you might have flagged certain records and say, well, display the ones that are flagged for printing. Right, I'll highlight those, or I'll filter those so that only the ones that are flagged for printing are listed. Then I'll go through my statement run, print those out. I'll then reverse that, highlight the ones that are flagged for email those out. So have a bit of think about that. If you're going through and you've got that sort of repetitive tasks, maybe you've got accounts assigned to certain account managers, salespeople, that type of thing. You can base it on whatever fields you've got within those customer records. Now filters, obviously you've got the option to save them. So if I just I'll click save. It's not a very complex one, that one. I'll just put your description in, if you want to call it. Now, if you save a filter, it is saved to your data path for this specific company. It means that your colleagues could potentially, if I just remove that as an example, so I'll reset it, your colleagues might come along and, right, actually, I want to do that. I'll click open, find the one you're after, click open. Obviously, you normally use that for much more complex filters. And then you can amend it if you want to. It's worth mentioning as well that filters are user specific. Did I say that right? Specific? I say that word. So user specific. So if you apply a filter to your list or you sort your list, it will only apply to you. It doesn't filter anyone else's. Again, meaning that when if you've had a go of that this morning, you're not impacting what anyone else sees. And it's great if you've got, let's say you work in credit control, let's say there's at least 2 people working in that credit control area, and you've got your relevant customers assigned to you. It means that you can see your list only that you want to work with. Your transactions list, for instance, you might only want to show transactions in the current calendar year. Invoices, you might, right, let's see invoices that we've entered in the current year, and you could apply a filter where only show me the ones that haven't been updated to the ledgers yet. But don't get caught out with that. You know, if I'm hiding zero balances and my colleague comes along and on their PC, they create a brand new customer record, that will have a zero balance. You've got zero balance hidden on your screen. So it may be necessary just to knock off your filter here and there. And that's quite a common query. My colleague can see that, but I can't, or vice versa. So filters, sorts, watch out for them. They're user specific. Right, if anyone's got any final questions or you want to pop one in thinking, well, I would like it to display this, can you do that? Pop it in the chat and in the questions panel, and I will try and pick that up for you in a moment. Simon, I'll pick yours up in a moment. So let me just quickly make sure I share the right screen first of all. Sometimes I have this problem where my mouse doesn't quite click it. So any questions, if you've got, just click on that questions panel at the top and I'll try and pick those up as best I can. Just to remind you, when you receive your follow-up email, you will receive a link to our webinars page, so do check that out. We've got webinars for all sorts of products on there now. So I think when we took the screenshot, we had Business Cloud and Sage 50 Payroll on there. I think there's a few others on there now as well, but it does mean you can access the live timetables and also the recordings page from there as well. Now, just before I open up to questions, I'm going to quickly thank everyone for coming this morning. I don't want it to overrun by too much, but many thanks for coming along. Hope you have enjoyed it, giving you some food for thought. Give it a try. If you've got colleagues as well, chances are it's one of the things people do overlook. So maybe just share the recording with it when you get that. And as you leave, there should be an opportunity to complete the short survey that pops up. If you take that minute to do that, always appreciate it. Let us know your thoughts. Ideas of how we can improve webinars, topics you'd like to see covered going forward, just pop it on there. And that follow-up email will be with you in around about an hour's time. Right, I'm going to quickly go back to Simon's question. I'll quickly share my screen as well. So Simon was just asking about, let me just share my screen first. So Simon's question was, is the dollar ABC wildcard the same as having using asterisks? So no, a dollar. Well, I suppose yes. So your dollar, you're looking for. If I type in, let's find a one. So if I'm looking for, let's see if I can find a common one. I'll just do 3-4. I can see that's there's 3-4 and a couple of different. It's on a couple of different telephone numbers. So I'll just quickly go into filter. We'll do telephone, and if we do $3-4, try that again. $3-4. So what we're looking for with $3-4 is you're looking for 3-4 anywhere within that field that you're searching for. So we're looking for any phone number that contains the consecutive digits 3 and 4. So it's found them. Now what Simon was just asking was, well, could you do asterisk 3 4 asterisk as an example? So again, you'd be looking for anything in front of 3 4 by doing that. So let's just do it. Oh, can't get my asterisk to work. There we go. Now, if we just left it at that, what we'd be looking for is any string of characters with 34 on the end. So if I just apply that clause, you can see, yeah, these have got 34 on the end, but we've got less records than before. If I change that to put the asterisk on the end as well, so we're now looking for anything with 34 essentially in it. So you're quite right, Simon. There's more than one way to crack the same nut, as it were. So if we just apply that one, again, we're back to looking for the same sort of thing. So maybe that's where you would use the dollar symbol. Yeah, but it's not, I've got to be honest, it's not very common, that one. I think with that one as well, when you're looking for, like a telephone number that contains 34, what you'd probably find is that if I just clear this, so I've got the full list back. If I just, in the search box at the top, if I just search for 34, and it finds them. Now, you might be looking at some of them and thinking, well, actually, this one here, that doesn't have 34 in it. But if I double click into the record, there'll be a 34 somewhere within the record. So actually, this one, it's unit 34. So that quick search at the top, this box here, it searches multiple fields. It's not just searching the telephone number, and that's where the filter comes in. You can say, right, look in that field only for me. Just get rid of that one. Any other questions at all? There is information in the help center on using wildcards and of course the filters separate article. So do check that out if you want a bit more detail. But as I say, have a play around with that. Have a go of it. See how you get on. If you get stuck at all, you're trying to create a specific filter, get in touch with our support team or drop me an email, and we'll try and point you in the right direction. Right, that was the only question we had, so I'll end the webinar just at that point. Many thanks for coming along. Hope you've enjoyed it, given you that food for thought, and encourage you to have a little play with it. It does expand your reporting, adds that bit of flexibility on there. So have a go, learn a bit more about it, and you'll start getting much more, making your lists more manageable. Remember, it's available just about throughout the program as well. So you've got the same options for your suppliers list, your invoices list. It doesn't remove anything, it just hides that information. So if people are very unsure sometimes of deleting records. So it's still there, just it's hidden. Right, we'll end the webinar just at that point. Again, if you can, take that minute to complete the survey. That should pop up as you leave. And again, watch out for your follow-up email, and hopefully I'll see you on some other webinars very soon. Many thanks.